Discordant Ukraine statements from Trump team leave allies anxious. A cracked windscreen forced U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio into a rapid U-turn as his plane, en route to the Munich Security Conference, had to turn back an hour into the flight. America's top diplomat, his senior officials and the traveling press returned to Andrews Air Force Base near Washington, D.C. on Thursday night. But despite the mid-air scare, the news was already firmly elsewhere. In Europe, U.S. Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth had stunned America's allies with a speech setting out what many saw as a series of concessions Ukraine would have to make to sign any peace deal with Russia brokered by President Trump. Hegseth said it was unrealistic to think Ukraine could win back its sovereign territory occupied by Russia, as was its demand for NATO membership, adding it was up to European and not U.S. troops to keep the peace. Critics, including some Republicans in Washington, castigated the speech, saying it gave away all of Ukraine's leverage ahead of any negotiations. It was, they argued, a U.S. capitulation to Russian President Vladimir Putin. It's certainly an innovative approach to a negotiation to make very major concessions even before they have started, said former Swedish Prime Minister Carl Bildt, who co-chairs the European Council on Foreign Relations, a think tank. The following day, Hegseth wound back some of what he had said. He clarified that all options were in fact still on the table for Trump to use as leverage between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. What he decides to allow or not allow is at the purview of the leader of the free world, President Trump, said Hegseth. However, he added he had been simply pointing out realism, and rejected the idea he had offered any undue concessions to Moscow. As for Rubio, the broken-down plane delayed his arrival in Munich, where his officials were briefing about his own priorities for the trip. The United States would work for a just and lasting peace, in which European countries would take the lead in creating a durable security framework, they said. European leaders are expected to meet in Paris on Monday for urgent talks aimed at ensuring that their countries are fully involved in any Ukraine peace negotiations. The U.S. Secretary of State's position contained no trace of laying out limits for Ukraine in the way the Defence Secretary had done. Then, also in the German city, Vice President J.D. Vance said the U.S. could use military tools of leverage to compel Russia to do a deal, appearing to contradict Hegseth, who had said no U.S. troops would be deployed to Ukraine. Later in the Oval Office, the fallout from Hegseth's speech was put to President Trump, along with the commentary of a Republican senator who described it as a rookie mistake, like something a pro-Putin pundit could have written. Had Trump been aware of what Hegseth was going to say? Generally speaking, yeah, generally speaking I was, said the president. I'll speak to Pete, I'll find out, he added. That's what we can say. Don't forget to support our channel by liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing. We thank you all for your support.